In this segment, we're going to talk about innovation processes. Now, there's two basic varieties of innovation processes. The first variety is really aimed at focusing innovation. It tries to take the ambiguity out of innovation, it tries to time innovation, it tries to standardize innovation, it tries to make the innovation process regular. The second type of innovation process is going to try and expand innovation. It's going to try and widen the telescope. It's going to try and be very divergent. It's going to try and give us more options, but less alignment. The first type of convergent innovation process is the most common. It's called program management. At the beginning, program management seeks to find the market opportunity. This includes emerging technology, emerging customer demands, and what your competitors are doing. It then looks at the ideas that your organization has, and it looks at the technological capability it has to manufacture that idea and the marketing prowess your organization has to sell that idea. And in between the two, it develops a technology or a program roadmap. The idea is they look at the ability to design and develop that idea, and eventually they look at the ability to launch, market, and sell that idea. The object of program management is to sync up all of the elements of the organization required to get an innovation to scale. Another common form of convergent innovation process is called stage gating or phase gating. The basic idea goes like this. We want to divide the entire innovation process into small segments or phases. We want to invest very little at the beginning, and at the end we want to increase our investment substantially when we've proven that the idea is going to work. So in the early stages, we're just going to look at the viability of the idea. Then as the phases go on, we're going to look at whether we can build a business plan around this, whether we can build prototypes, whether we can manufacture it, whether we can market it, and eventually we're going to go to market with this, whether we have the manufacturing prowess to get this to scale. In between each of these little phases, we're going to evaluate the idea and see if it should be modified, see if it should be stopped, or see if we should continue with the idea. The basic premise here is that we want to time our innovations so that they arrive at the market at the proper time, and we want to invest in our innovations as they prove to be more viable as time goes on. So they start with a little bit of money and they end up with a lot of money. So almost all of the capitalization happens at the end of the process. As with most convergent forms of innovation process, the basic idea is to align the organization, to sync up all of the factors included in innovation, all the way from supply chain to service at the other end. Well, a secondary issue is going to be attrition, because this alignment process is going to start with a lot of ideas, but it's only going to end with a few high-quality, very promising ideas. So these systems are going to work like a funnel. You pour a lot of ideas in at the top that don't cost a lot of money, that don't take a lot of time, and by the time you get the few at the end that you're going to capitalize, you're going to spend a lot of time on, they're only the high quality ideas that you're focused on. Now, another convergent process is often called portfolio management. And portfolio management usually has two dimensions to it. The first dimension is what is the relative payout of the idea. Let's call this the x-axis. The other is what is the relative technical risk of the idea. Let's call this the y-axis. Now, when we talk about technical risk, we're not talking about financial risk. We're talking about our ability to design it, our ability to manufacture it, our ability to sell it, and our ability to support it. Now, the concept of portfolio management is we only want to focus on those ideas that are the most promising in terms of they have a high payout and they have low technical risk. These are the ideas that we want to focus our attention on and we want to capitalize. Sometimes this low technical risk, high financial quadrant is referred to as the hurdle rate. What is required to get this idea funded, because it compares any idea, any potential innovation to all the other potential innovations. And it's only going to capitalize the ones that are the most promising. It's like Darwin. It is the survival of the fittest ideas. A common practice in convergent innovation processes are referred to as innovation architectures or platform innovations. The way these work is simple. They work like concentric circles. At the center or at the core is the core platform. This might be something like an engine, the ability to make an engine. Around that, there are going to be basic platform variations. So this might be something like small engines, medium engines, and large engines. Around that, there's going to be products that you make. So this might be something like a lawnmower or a jet aircraft engine. Around that, there's going to be the final concentric circle, which is what's required for specific markets. Do they use different voltages? Do they come in different colors? Do they come in different sizes? So you might sell a lawnmower, but it might be sold in Europe, it might be sold in Asia, it might be sold in Latin America and North America under different names with different power regulations, different colors, and fit into different forms of products. The idea here is that what you're trying to do is to align everything so that you maximize the variation that you get out of a platform while minimizing the expense. Convergent innovation processes have a natural bias when it comes to selecting the best ideas. So things like the cost of the idea, or the feasibility of the idea, or the functionality of the idea are always going to be paramount. So with these types of innovation processes, the best ideas are always going to be the ones which we can be most certain are going to work. The second type of innovation processes involves widening our lens, looking through the telescope, finding the widest range of options, trying to be as novel and as original as we possibly can. These forms of innovation bring unprecedented opportunities, but also high degrees of risk because we don't know what's going to work and what's not going to work. A popular approach to divergent innovation processes include looking for uncontested markets. Now what that means is we're looking for places where there aren't a lot of competitors, where there isn't a current technology, where new ideas are going to get a chance to grow before competitors get in this space. There are two dimensions to finding an uncontested market. The first one is to look at the value propositions for customers. Now what this means is, what might a customer want? Maybe they want something that's really fun to use, like a car that comes in a great new color. Maybe they want something that's simple to use. So maybe it's a technological device like setting up a router that's really easy to use. They might want something that fits with their existing system. So maybe this is a medication that they can take with other medications that they've got. The second dimension includes all the places where a customer might encounter this product or service or solution. So obviously they encounter it when they buy it, but they also might encounter it when they use it, they might encounter it when they have to service it, and they might encounter it when they're trying to dispose of the product itself. Because remember, you can't sell somebody something new until they've gotten rid of or upgraded the old stuff as well. So the idea is to look at these two dimensions, value propositions and all the places where the customer uses that innovation, and we're looking for places where there aren't competitors, there currently isn't an innovation, there currently isn't a product or service, because these are places where we can try something a little more radical because we really don't have a competitor right now. Another popular form of divergent innovation processes is often referred to as adjacencies. And what this means is any organization has a core product or service that it sells. So let's say, for example, you make large, complicated mainframe computers. An adjacency might be that you also write software applications to make these large computers talk to each other. Well, another adjacency might be you write additional applications to make these computers talk to your smartphone or to your handheld device. Well, another application might be when doing this, you realize how a business runs and you can actually consult with the business to build a new business model for how people buy on your business, and so on and so forth. So the basic premise here is you start out with something that you're really good at and everyone knows you're good at it. That's why they buy from you. And you're trying to incrementally expand that into solutions that get you a little more market, solutions that extend the products that you've got a little bit. And step by step, adjacency by adjacency, you expand and grow the solution. Now, one of the new developments in innovation processes is to look at an organization's ability to innovate. And sometimes this is referred to as its core competency. Now, a competency isn't money, and it's not your reputation, and it certainly isn't any product. It's the collective skill of the organization to make new and better solutions. In order to find your organization's core competencies, look for these 5 dimensions. First of all, the core competency has to be valuable. Somebody has to be willing to pay for it. A customer has to be willing to pay for it. Secondly, you have to be resourced to take advantage of it. Have you put any money into that core competency? Have you hired for it? Third, it has to be difficult to imitate. If everybody can do it, it's probably not a core competency. Fourth, you have to be organized around the core competency. So the organization has to maximize the value of it. And 5, it has to be critical. It has to be something that if your organization doesn't do it, it's going to fail. It has to be something that the market absolutely needs and it can't live without it. So for example, let's look at a microprocessing chip example. If you make a chip, is it valuable? Well, it should be valuable because smartphones and tablets all need chips. Are you resourced for it? Well, to make chips, you're going to have tremendous R&D. You're also going to have those manufacturing plants that are dust-free. That takes a lot of money and resource to make that happen. Is it difficult to imitate? Yes, because the barriers to entry, the intelligence needed, the patents needed, the manufacturability needed is very hard to get into this business. Are you organized around the chips? Well, you're going to be organized to take advantage of all the technologies. You're going to sell chips not only to phones and tablets, but to computers and refrigerators and cars and every place else you can sell it. Is it critical? It's absolutely critical because we can't have any of these devices without a chip. And if we're a chip manufacturer, if we were in a different business, we'd probably have a lot of trouble. Innovation strategies are highly divergent processes because they show us the entire range of what could happen. More importantly, they're typically very complicated and difficult for everybody to understand. So one highly divergent innovation process is to use strategy maps or pictograms, and all these are visual representations of all the elements of a strategy. So think of it like a collage or like modern art. So the object here is to get the leaders and the members of the organization involved in creating this picture so that they understand what the strategy is, and more importantly, they understand how it all goes together. These pictograms or strategy maps typically hang in public places so that we can look at them on a regular basis. We can visualize the strategy. We can use those big parts of our brain to put the pieces together and remind us of the shared vision of our organization of how we're going to move from here to that wonderful place in the future where innovation becomes realized. Unlike convergent innovation processes, divergent innovation processes have a very different criteria for success. These include things like, do these ideas take us in the direction of the future? What's going to happen and hasn't happened yet? Are these ideas diverse enough? Are they radical enough? Do they play to our unique strengths and make it difficult for other people to imitate us? So once again, let's practice some prismatic thinking. What type of innovation processes does your organization run? And why? Where are these innovation processes most effective? How about least effective? Why? What type of innovation processes should your organization be running? Where should they be running them? When should they be running them? All we can measure are the steps required to get to that future and to make adjustments along the way.